Next question. The Vick Game Hunts says, did you travel with Kane when he unmasked in 2003? And what was his routine with the weird little hair thing he had going on? Did you? Well, there's a famous photo out there of you shaving his head at one point. Did he grow it out for the week and trim up for tea? Do what?
He didn't do mine. I was the barber. I was the new barber in WWE.
Did Kane grow it out for the week and then trim up for TV, then shave it back off and repeat the process?
It all depends. It all depends. Like it depends on how fast it was growing back. And I did a lot of that shaving for him, whether it was like on a house show. Now, usually on the house shows, you don't wear your best stuff. You know, it's just kind of like the matches, trying to get through them and not do anything super dangerous. But also, a lot of guys wouldn't bring their jackets or the full gear on house shows. And that goes for Glenn with the shaved head. It would obviously have some stubble. But by Monday, if he wasn't getting it done in the makeup chair, that photo was basically on repeat where I was shaving his head. I know I have that picture, Chris. So if you want to B-roll that picture of me shaving Glenn's head, we could put up as a YouTube post as well. But yeah, the routine was just basically take the electric shaver or whatever it was and just shave his head. Took a few seconds. I remember when I think it was the Garden. It was definitely the match where he lost and Rob came in the ring. He attacked Rob and pulled the mask off. Remember with all the black, and he had the weird like Festus haircut from, remember Festus with that guy?
Do you know what, right? Just because you mentioned that, it's like, hey, that's Thingy Gordy's son. Bam Bam Terry Gordy's son. I always thought it was Festus. I didn't think it was the guy that was like a foot shorter.
No, he looked like Luke Gallows looks more like Terry Gordy's son than Terry Gordy's son.
Yeah.
Ray Gordy. Yeah, I forget.
Yeah,
Cletus.
Slam Master J.
Cletus and Festus? What was his name?
I can't remember what his name is. He's going to bug me now.
And Gravy was the song. I remember that. So anyway, I remember when Glenn, like the day it happened, Glenn had the mask with the wig on. And I remember saying, like, his hair looks weird. And he had the mask on at like 1 or 2 p.m. So I was like, what's up with this? It was so weird. And then I saw the match, like he gets unmasked, and I was like, he's wearing a mask all day. I wonder what there was pre-tapes, there was things going on. I found it strange. So I didn't know when he tore it off that he had shaved his head and had that weird haircut. And he ended up, choke slamming Rob and then doing the pyro thing. I believe that was Madison Square Garden.
It was Jesse and Festus, by the way. Man, I hated that as a fan. I just thought, boy, have you just killed Kane. And I was the biggest Kane fan in the entire world. And I was slowly getting less of a Kane fan because they kept changing him and kept giving him reduced roles. And at that point, he was a tag team dude with like Hurricane Helms and Rob Van Dam. And I think he'd been injured for months beforehand. And then he came back as a tag team guy with that weird outfit. But why did they make him do this? Because were you traveling with him at the time, actually?
Yeah, I was traveling with him, but I don't know. And my assumption, it probably came up. My assumption is besides, I don't know, maybe just a new coat of paint. Glenn did he did the best work that you would expect somebody not to be able to do after wearing a mask for so long. Because with the mask, he could still convey emotion. But think about how you get into a point where nobody's seeing your actual face. And you have to break that habit unless he always made the face just to stay true to the emotion, even though he's doing head tilts and stuff like that. But think about how most people get unmasked and they have to adjust to be an angry, emotional showing. And Glenn's always been excellent. He's actually an excellent actor. And that you might think See No Evil wasn't a great horror movie or whatever. But my theory is, mentioning that, maybe he was in line for the movie and the part that he was supposed to play didn't involve the mask, but they want him to look like Jason from Friday the 13th or a kind of an ode to that, because he kind of had that Jason Voorhees type look to him after he got unmasked.
I thought that film was a couple of years later. Like, wasn't that 2006 when they were doing the May
19th with the phony Kane, right?
Yeah, I thought, with the phony Kane, but I thought See No Evil. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would have been 2006.
Okay. So that lends more to the theory that They were just trying to change up the Kane character. And you know what? He did a lot of great work. And you mentioned Lita. What about the whole story with Lita?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of great work that he did. The mask wasn't defining him. He defined the mask. So, and then, I mean, you fast forward. I mean, him unmasked is nowhere near as bad as Corporate Kane. Can we agree on that?
Yes, we can. I think we should
Except
do
for
like a list
the
of...
concession stand. That was fun.
Yeah.
Where he worked the concession stand.
Kane is almost... And he shouldn't have been, but he's almost turned into a utility player. He can go anywhere and be fitted in with everything. But like, as soon as he was unmasked, in fairness, it was a lot better than sensitive Kane hanging about backstage with Terry Runnels. Do you remember that? There were so many weird odd couples with Kane.
Tori was his girlfriend.
That was great. That was great. And then X-Pac. The only problem is that they kept making X-Pac win, and it was so unbelievable. And I think that's where the X-Pac heat came from, because you could tell that the machine was pushing him too hard over Kane, of all people, who was like,
oh man, I haven't heard X-Pac heat in a while.
It was a real thing. I swear it was a real thing. I think when you interview him, it's like, hey, it just sounds like they were booing me. But man, as a fan, I didn't want to see him on my screen. And that's amazing, because he's a really good talent. But I think they just overpushed him. He's
so underrated. He's a guy that deserves like a career retrospective for everything he has gone through and how he reinvented himself. That whole match with Razor that made him. And then, of course, the Bret Hart match was like, people call that the perfect match. That Raw match that he had.
Patreon.
Should watch it all. Just call it patreon.com/Bret Hart fans. How's that? But yeah, Glenn is I think Glenn is one of the most underrated, not only workers, but athletes and entertainers that have ever existed in wrestling. He really has never gotten like that real run with the world title, that real run as a top guy. Like you said, he's a utility player that gets plugged into this up here, then he can come back down here, then he can be a tag team wrestler over here, then he can have a blood feud over here, then he can wrestle a debuting person and get them over. He's everything. He's literally the perfect professional wrestler.
I mean, would you say that he got Shane McMahon over as a legitimate threat? Because I remember afterwards he set fire to Jim Ross, and then I think he beat Rob Van Dam at SummerSlam, and then he was feuding with Shane McMahon for months afterwards as well.
Let's not forget about him hooking up jumper cables to his crotch.
Course. How could we not?
Well, I've trained with Shane. He's a viable threat without Glenn needing to give him any more. He was a threat to anybody in the ring with him.
Didn't Kane absolutely smash him in one of those matches as a receipt? Like, absolutely stoved his head in with a punch or something. I think
everybody who has wrestled Shane McMahon has given him multiple receipts. Jericho, Kane. I'm convinced Kurt Angle was just like getting stiff and said, "You're going through this class, buddy. I don't care."
Okay, there's two more things we've got to talk about.
But if Steve Blackman receded him, he wouldn't be able to even climb up to the top of the box truss. That's a receipt nobody wants.
I tell you what, even I don't know how many times they tested that for safety or whatever, but I don't care if it was 1,000, and I'd seen 1,000 people do it. I wouldn't do that.
Oh, falling backwards off the top of the Titantron through a crash pad?
Yeah, on like a big waterbed thing, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, because guess what you're still doing? You're taking an ST plunge behind you, and you don't know if you fall and just let it go, or if you think you have to jump out and then you're out by the crowd and the guardrail. Yeah, I wouldn't do it either. Well, for enough money, maybe. Let me think about that.
What was the eye makeup supposed to look like?
Well, I think that was just no, but the eye makeup. Oh, you mean after he got unmasked?
When he got masked, because he had this like weird black thing where he just looked like he'd, swept his chimney.
But that was like the Batman thing. Batman wore the makeup under the mask. It gives.
No, it's supposed to be Burns. It was supposed to be Burns, and then he wrestled for 15 minutes, whatever it was, with Triple H, and Triple H won, and it smudged all the makeup.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Triple H won?
Would you believe?
Come on, man. I think it did turn into, I don't remember that, like being it has to be burns or charred marks, but he always had the thing where it looked like he hadn't slept in a month. Like he didn't get enough sleep. Remember that makeup, the purple makeup, or like the dark circles under his eyes?
I'm sending you. I'm going to
Probably
send you
for
the
me
image
getting him
now
up
so
at
you can
5
see it.
a.m. Okay.
It's terrible. So you don't know like what it was meant to look like before it all got smudged up. But honestly, he looked like looked into an exhaust pipe and he went.
The old Roadrunner.
Yeah, I'm sending this
you
now.
Messaging it to me.
Oh, I'm messing it to you right now.
Got it.
There you go. Right, I've WhatsApped. So live reaction, everybody, to Kane's face paint for the day, and then they just gave up on it.
I have to test. I have to disagree with the theory to a certain extent. You know why? Because he rubbed the eye makeup to cover up the eye holes in the mask to give that Batman look. So the eyes came out. I don't know. I don't know if they were trying to simulate burns and didn't take into account. That's not WWE. They have way too much attention to detail to think that they would know that would run, but at the same time, the makeup, the eye paint or whatever. But no, I don't think they were trying to simulate burns every single time.
Katie Vick. Did Glenn ever
chat to you?
Because it was
an pre-tape as well. Triple H.
Wonderful. Oh, geez. I forgot. There's loads of ones with Triple H in. What's even worse is like his really forced laugh after the Katie Vick segment had aired. And he's got this he feels like he's had a chest infection for a month. He's got like doing this weird, horrible laugh, this phony laugh, and then the next week they had the doll out and stuff. Do you know, the underwear, right, of Katie Vick the doll, they sold it on the auction site afterwards.
Oh, really?
And it was bought by the people at WrestleCrap.
Oh, I do remember the WrestleCrap article where they bought it. I remember stuff that stupid. That was part of the stupid stuff. I can't believe they made it or something, and they had all these toys they used to put up.
It's weird because, on WrestleCrap, the image that they use for the worst merchandise is the one that I submitted, 20-odd years ago, and it was the porcelain baby Steve Austin doll. And they still use that one, of all things.
Oh, my God.
But yeah, what was your reaction to the original Katie Vick in the funeral home thing? And also, beforehand, there was the emotional interview, and I think actually Terry Rawns might have been part of that, where he talks about how he killed said doll.
Yeah, drinking and driving. They had everything, didn't they?
Yeah.
In that sit-down interview.
That was amazing. Yeah, right, okay, what was your reaction to the main funeral home thing? I screwed your brains out. Enjoy the show.
Enjoy the show. Enjoy the
Turkey
funeral.
likes that.
Turkey, I don't know for that. Man, I remember sitting there, and when they aired it, somebody turned around and said, "Oh, that's Vince's idea." And I went, "Sounds about right." That was totally, and even Triple H kind of said, "Oh, I didn't really want to do it, but it was the boss's idea." And he was Vince was like a giddy little schoolgirl. He was like Katie Vick, in that pre-tape from what I remember. Not that I was there, but what they said was he was so excited. This was top notch. This was going to be this is going to be the moments ESPN's going to cover it or something.
Yeah, I think all they did was cost themselves sponsors, and from that week onwards, the ratings dropped noticeably and never recovered. That was the line in the sand for a lot of fans that said, "I'm never watching wrestling again or WWE again."
He probably blamed it on Stevie Night Heat.
They could well have done. I'm wondering if. I'd be interested to hear Vince Russo's thoughts on this, because they apparently around this time was trying to get back to the shock content of the Attitude Era. I'm wondering if even Vince Russo would have watched that and gone, "I would have never put that on television in a million years."
I'll ask him. I asked him about the Roddy Piper promo when we do part 2 about the Russo Piper TNA thing. So he's going to give me a kind of a synopsis. But there's another question about the Katie Vick. Will you have ever done Katie Vick? So I think Russo has cameos. So if you want to ask him, check out his cameo.
I've got his email. I'll just message him.
Well, I meant for the fans.
Oh, right, yeah, the fans
you.
can do that.
I'm not telling you to get a cameo.